Welcome back to Your Next Best. My name is Michael Chesson, and today's topic we're going to talk about is called bubble wrap. I love that stuff. I just start popping that stuff, and I can entertain myself for hours with it. It's a grown man. I can still do that. I love like Christmas. You open that stuff up. It's amazing. But bubble wrap. I mean, have you ever heard of that before? Don't bubble wrap your kids. Don't let them learn. Let them fall down. Let them make mistakes. And it's easy. You see, it's easy to say that for other people and other people's kids. It's a very different story sometimes when it comes to our own kids. I've heard it said like this before, that there are perfect parents out there. They just don't have kids yet. I mean, think about that, right? There are perfect, they just don't have kids yet. Because we always think that we know what's best for somebody else. Yeah, I learned this as a kid, actually, and my dad raised me as a single father, and he did the best that he could. I thank God every day for my dad. But here's the thing, I used to play football, and as you can tell, I wasn't maybe the biggest guy, but I had a big mouth, and somehow I talked myself onto going onto the first string in junior high school in Houston, Texas, and I was the wide receiver. And the wide receiver's job was to catch the ball and to run and to score the touchdown, right? That was the goal, that was the hope. And so I got the biggest pads I could find. I put those things on. I'm walking around like I'm all strong. I'm ready to go. Now, I'll never forget this on the first game. We're all in the huddle. And I noticed out of the corner of my eye, my dad is running down the bleachers and he's got his camera. And I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. Anyways, I'm in the huddle and we're kind of telling us what we're gonna do. And I noticed that my dad is now off the bleachers onto the sideline. I'm like, no, he's gonna stop. He's gotta stop. And I'm like, guys, let's hurry. And I noticed my dad is running onto the field. He gets into the huddle next to us with his camera and he starts taking pictures. I was mortified, embarrassed. I'm like, what are you doing? And my dad said, nah, I just love it so much. I'm so proud of you. You're gonna do great. And everybody's like, Mike, is this you? I said, I don't know that guy. You know, my dad coming into this story and with the camera and being there, taking the picture, I look back at this now as a dad and I realize, man, my dad was just a proud dad. But you know what he couldn't do for me on that field though? Is he couldn't protect me, because that was my job to stand in that moment, to be the person I was supposed to be, not only for myself, but for my team. Now here was the thing about the first play. The job was down, set, hut. And I was supposed to turn and block whatever was coming towards me. You see, as a wide receiver, you're either gonna go catch the ball and run, or you're gonna block so that the teammate can run and hopefully gain some yards. But when I turned to block what was coming at me, I think he would have done the same thing I did. The guy was probably 4 times my size. I think he should have been in university or college, and we were in junior high school. So when the guy was running towards me, I just moved out the way and he went and tackled the guy on our team. Now the coach got mad at me. I didn't know why. The coach was like, Michael, what's wrong with you? I said, Coach, did you see that guy? That guy would have killed me. He said, Michael, get in the game. I said, I'm in the game. I'm just playing smart. He said, run the play again. Down, set, hut. And I turned this way and I saw the guy running at me again. Have you ever just wished you could be on the other team for just a moment? And I remember looking at that, so let's go tackle my guy together. So we go and I jump on the tackle. The guy gets tackled and the coach pulls me out of the game. And now I sat the rest of the year on the sideline. You wanna know why? Because I was afraid to stand up and to block because of what was coming at me. You see, I find that in parenting, we do this a lot, that we want to block for our kids, right? And we want to protect them so they don't get hurt. We want to protect them so they don't get scarred up. We want to protect them so that they can just have an easy ride. But what I'm learning more and more through the letters that we're receiving and through having conversations, is that we're actually not setting our kids up for success that way, are we? Eventually, your kids are going to fail. But wouldn't you rather your kids mess up, make mistakes, do some things that maybe we don't even want to talk about, but if they were doing that while they were still in your care, you could help pick them up and direct and shape the destination from that moment. You see, they're going to fail, you're going to fail, I'm going to fail. That's inevitable. We're not perfect, but we're in process. Friends, we are still under construction. Tell your kids the truth. Because if you don't tell your kids the truth, somebody else will. And if you're lying to your kids saying, oh, you're the best at this, or you're the best at that, and you're trying to protect them because you don't want to hurt their feelings, eventually somebody's going to tell them the truth, and they're going to look back at you, and they're going to, because you're the greatest influence, what are they going to say? Why didn't you just tell me the truth? If we are blocking always, but our kids aren't learning the lessons as they're moving forward and getting older, then have we really helped them out? I want to leave you with this one statement here about bubble wrap too, by the way. This was hard for me. I remember listening this to a father who had recently lost his son, and we were just kind of talking through this process because I can relate to that. We had our first son that was with us for 24 minutes, and to even think about that story, it's heartbreaking. But again, the two greatest gifts, the gift of time and the gift of people, we make the most of every moment. I remember sitting with this gentleman, and we're kind of just in a moment of like just quiet. We're not even saying much. And he was telling me about his other kids and kind of the whole process of how everything was going in their devastation of a moment. And he said, I can't stop thinking about something. He said, for my kids that are still with me, their innocence is so beautiful. But as I kind of watch them grow up, I'm noticing that if I'm not willing to take my kids' innocence away one piece at a time, the world is going to steal it all at once. I remember sitting back in my chair thinking to myself, what do you mean you want to take your kids' innocence away? What does that even mean? He said, there's so much, as I'm reflecting on time, that I really want to set my kids up for success in the future. But to do that, I need to allow them to see things that they're going to have to face. Now, I'm not going to do it all at once because who could handle that? But if I can begin to shape them and take certain things that we think are just, perfect and pure, and nobody's ever going to hurt you, and nobody's ever going to say anything about you, and nobody's ever going to walk away from you, and nobody's ever going to leave you, and we start to bring the truth into the story. As we pick up those pieces with them, when we walk with them, all of a sudden, that's how we're protecting them. That's how we're shaping them. That, my friend, is how we're guiding them. I want to really challenge you and encourage you to really reflect on how you're doing with that. Have you become a parent that's always just trying to make sure that everything's good, everything's fine? Well, why are you doing that? Is it possibly because it's a reflection of you, and maybe if your kids mess up, you might feel that that's your fault? Or are we going to stand firm and stand strong to say, you know what, my kid's not perfect. My kid's in process, and we're all still under construction. The story is not done yet. Your track record for getting through bad days from the day that you were born to today's date is 100%. Your kid's track record for getting through bad days from the day they were born to today's date is 100%. Take courage, take courage in this, because the work that you are doing is so worthy of your time. Why? Because you are the greatest influence in your kid's life.